My life was a series of bad decisions, but I never expected the real hell to begin in a warehouse. I spent my days documenting inventory, wondering where it all went wrong. Every click of my pen felt like a countdown to a future that was never coming. I was basically a human babysitter for a bunch of high-tech robots. They were efficient, cold, and completely mechanical, just like my life had become. I watched PAX, the AI unit, handle packages with a precision I could only dream of. It was soul-crushing work, surrounded by machines that didn't need to breathe or sleep. But in this economy, you take what you can get, even if it means taking orders from a processor. The facility was massive, a labyrinth of steel and automation. The temperature was kept low for the hardware, leaving me shivering in a place that felt more like a tomb than a workplace. Everywhere I looked, drones and bots were the only signs of movement. I realized too late that taking this job was a massive mistake. 2 months ago, I was a fresh military discharge, full of hope and looking for a clean start. I thought I was walking into freedom, but that feeling didn't even last a full minute. Right as I got out, my parents dropped a bombshell. They were moving, and I was on my own. They left me with a small studio and enough rent for 6 months. I had interest building in my savings, so I wasn't desperate yet.
I had these far-fetched dreams of becoming a barista and finding romance over an espresso machine. But reality is a brutal wake-up call. Every cafe wanted experience. I could handle a rifle, but apparently I couldn't be trusted with a cash register. A month of rejections later, the boredom started to rot my brain. I was venting to my sisters, calling myself a useless hobo while they just laughed at me. They didn't have much sympathy. One of them even told me to come join her at the gym if I had nothing better to do. Then a random suggestion popped up about a shipping company using AI. It sounded chill. It sounded like easy money. That's how I ended up at the PAX Fulfillment Center. The place was freezing, and the isolation was starting to get to me. I didn't expect my only coworkers to be machines that followed strict protocols. Then there was Mr. Shin, the human manager who was somehow less likable than the robots. He was obsessed with inventory discrepancies, especially some missing canned tuna. He sent me to the deep storeroom to find it, clearly just wanting me out of his sight. I put on a smile, but I was cursing the old bastard under my breath the whole way. The door to the storage room creaked open, revealing a dark, cramped space. I stepped inside, just wanting to find the cans and get back to my phone.
It was packed floor to ceiling with boxes that shouldn't even be in this section. I found the tuna, buried where it didn't belong, just like Mr. Shin's competence. I climbed the ladder, reaching for the heavy box. Suddenly, a sound cut through the silence, a heavy, metallic thud. The door slammed shut with a finality that made my heart drop. I rattled the handle, locked, from the outside. I checked my phone, panic starting to set in. This wasn't funny. I tried calling Mr. Shin, but the call wouldn't go through. Dead silence on the other end. I debated calling 911, but I didn't want to make things awkward with the boss if it was just a glitch. I decided to wait. Surely someone would notice I was missing. I messaged my sister, joking that I was in an escape room. She didn't find it funny. Then her next text stopped my heart. She heard a building collapse right outside. She tried to call me, her name flashing on the screen like a lifeline. The call connected for a split second before the signal vanished completely. Silence. Then the sound of the network dying. I was yelling at the door, thinking it was a prank, until the floor began to shake.
Red emergency lights flared to life, casting an eerie glow over the warehouse. A massive rumble shook the entire facility. This wasn't a glitch. This was a disaster. The PA system screamed for evacuation, but I was trapped behind a heavy steel door. I realized then that no one was coming for me. The world was ending, and I was in a box. I hammered on the door until my knuckles bled, screaming for help that would never arrive. I checked my phone one last time. Battery at 1%. No signal. No hope. The power cut out completely. I was left in total, suffocating darkness. I started losing track of time. Was it day? Night? All I had was the silence. I stared into the void, my mind beginning to unravel. The sounds from outside were terrifying: crashes, screams, and things that didn't sound human. I stayed as still as possible, my instincts telling me that noise meant death. Whatever was out there, it was hunting. I heard a wet, guttural sound just on the other side of the door. My breath hitched. I curled up on the floor, waiting for the end. 3 days passed. 3 days of living on nothing but the canned tuna I was sent to find. I sat there, eating in the dark, wondering if I was the last person alive. The alarms had finally stopped. The silence was almost worse than the noise. I pulled out my phone to write a final note, a prayer for my family. I was ready to give up. I was ready for it to be over. But the world wasn't done with me yet. I stared at the ceiling, waiting for the air to run out. Then, a chime, a familiar digital ding that didn't belong in this tomb. A blue holographic window materialized in front of my eyes. You have been chosen. It told me to check my awakened ability. I thought I was finally losing it. My parallel dimension, level 1. It said I could store any object in sight. I started laughing. A storage ability? I was already trapped in a giant storage unit. I decided to play along with my hallucination. Fine, I thought. Store the PAX fulfillment center. The system asked for confirmation. Target chosen. Proceed with storage? I whispered, yeah, and the world suddenly inverted. A violent force threw me backward, the walls of the storeroom dissolving into light. I hit the ground hard, gasping for air that finally felt fresh. I scrambled up, blinded by the sudden sunlight. I wasn't in the warehouse anymore. I was outside, but the world I knew was gone. Total devastation. Buildings were leveled, and the sky was a bruised, apocalyptic orange. I saw bodies. I saw ruins. The reality of the collapse was worse than anything I had imagined. A wave of nausea hit me. The transfer had taken a toll on my body. I collapsed, retching on the dust-filled ground as the system updated. It was installing an operating system. My body was becoming the host for something beyond human. I tried to clear my head, but the dizziness was overwhelming. Then I froze. A shadow stretched across the rubble, growing larger by the second. Something was looming over me, something massive. A low, guttural growl vibrated through the air. It was the same sound I heard through the door. I looked up and saw a nightmare made flesh, a massive, blood-stained orc. I told myself to stay calm, to use my military training, but my legs felt like lead. This wasn't a bear or a gorilla. This was a monster from a story, and it was going to kill me. Its foot was the size of my torso, covered in grime and old blood. I didn't wait for it to move. I turned and bolted, screaming for a help that still wasn't coming. The creature let out a deafening roar that shook the very foundations of the ruins. It was fast. Impossible for something that size to move with such predatory speed. It stepped on a corpse like it was nothing but a blood-filled balloon. I was huffing, my lungs burning, desperate to find some kind of cover. It was gaining on me. I could feel the vibrations of its footsteps through the asphalt. Then, the system chimed again. Sync complete. You may now enter the parallel dimension. The orc lunged, its massive jaws open, ready to tear me apart. A prompt appeared. Enter. I didn't just say yes, I screamed it. Hell yes! The creature's fist swung through the air where my head had been a second ago. I thought I was too late, but the light engulfed me just in time. The world blurred into a vortex of blue energy and static. I braced for impact, shielding my eyes from the blinding flash. I opened my eyes, expecting to feel teeth, but I felt cold air instead. The orc was still there, but it was pressing against an invisible wall, howling in rage. It couldn't reach me. It was like I was behind unbreakable glass. A drone whirred past my head. I looked around, my jaw dropping. I was back in the PAX fulfillment center. The entire warehouse was here. The system confirmed it. I had entered my parallel dimension.
I watched the monster outside, realizing the warehouse I had stored was now my own personal fortress. The world was an apocalypse, but I was the master of this space. I had a warehouse full of supplies and a monster-proof shield. Maybe I could survive this after all.
The low hum of drones is the only sound in this massive silence. It's overwhelming. The PAX Fulfillment Center, a warehouse in a parallel dimension, and now it's all mine. A system notification pings. I've entered the dimension for the first time. Tutorial reward, 1 mana stone. It pulses with a strange blue energy. This small gem is more than just a reward. It's the lifeblood of this facility. Outside the barrier, the orc is still pounding away, trying to get to me. It's a nightmare made of pure muscle and rage. I have to be absolutely sure it can't cross over. The system confirms it. I'm safe inside, for now. I pull up the terminal. Level 1 facility stats. 300,000 square feet of inventory at my fingertips. Shipping speed is set to the default 40 miles per hour, but there's a catch. Look at the maintenance timer. 2 minutes until the default power supply is depleted.
Survival, apocalypse, systems, hunters, shelters, regression, and power fantasy stories. Pox runs purely on mana stones now. 1 stone can power the entire warehouse for 24 hours. If the power dies, the drones fall, and everything inside becomes useless, including the refrigeration system. Packs fresh. Thousands of tons of meat, vegetables, and ready-to-eat meals. In an apocalypse, food is the ultimate currency. It's the difference between life and death. Without electricity, this warehouse becomes a graveyard of rotting food. I ask Pox how to get more stones. The answer is straightforward. Harvest them from infernal beings. The monster outside isn't just a threat, it's my battery. It's time to hunt. I open the catalog to find a weapon. Everything from household goods to professional hardware.
I need something with reach. Camping axes. They're heavy enough to bite. Cheap tools, but they're all I've got to work with. Close quarters combat is suicide against that thing. I'll have to rely on my aim. I line up the shot through the portal. I was a black beret. I know how to hit a target under pressure. I hurl the axe with everything I've got. Direct hit. It bites into the orc's shoulder, drawing dark blood. It bellows in rage, but it's still standing. Those muscles are like iron. Wounding it isn't enough. I need a more efficient way to finish this. I look back at the box of tools. Wait, something is different. Should I throw something heavier, like a bowling ball? The system tells me there are 15 axes left in stock.
But I already threw 1. It should be 14. I look at the floor and the bins. They're duplicating right in front of me. The system converts digital data into physical matter. That means the inventory is infinite. Items can be used or lost, but the stock never depletes. I have an endless armory. This changes the entire dynamic of the apocalypse, and I don't even have to throw them manually anymore. I have the shipping skill. I can automatically ship items out of the dimension. 30-second cooldown. I just need to visualize the target. I focus on the orc. Ship it. The axe fires out at 40 miles per hour. The impact is devastating. The orc drops instantly. Dead. 1 kill. My first mana stone is secured. But 40 miles per hour is just the baseline. I can modify the shipping speed. If I power up the skill with more stones, I can make it even more lethal. The system confirms it. The potential for growth is limitless. But I can't hide in this warehouse forever. There are people out there I need to reach. I need to gear up for the world outside. I search the catalog for professional tactical equipment, light battle boots and tactical pants, camouflage. Proper gear is the foundation of survival in a war zone. I'm leaving the civilian version of myself behind. I'm a survivor now. I slam a map of Seoul onto the floor. Time to plan my extraction route.
Starting from Gumpo, I'll have to cut through the most dangerous districts. Gangnam and Jung are going to be crawls. Then, up through Dobong. My destination is Uijeongbu. It's too far to travel on foot through monster-infested streets. I hope everyone is still hanging on. I need reliable, silent transportation. An electric road bicycle. No gas required, minimal noise. In this new world, this is better than a supercar. It's fast, agile, and precisely what I need. Just hold on. Jungyeom is coming to save you.
30 minutes back in the real world, and the silence of the ruins is already starting to grate. Navigating Gunpo on a mountain bike is the most tactical choice. It's fast, and more importantly, it's quiet. I've already put down 12 orcs, but the deeper I go into the city, the more frequent the encounters become. Another one. This beast is larger than the others, lunging with a roar that echoes off the hollowed-out buildings. I don't even slow down. I just need to time the transition perfectly. The portal opens right in its path. To the orc, it looks like a shield, but it's actually an exit strategy. It slams into the boundary of the parallel dimension with a sickening thud, its momentum working against it. I was too distracted earlier to really analyze the mechanics, but now the tactical advantage is clear. As I keep using the portal against these monsters, I realize my ability isn't just a place to hide, it's a blade. The very edge of the dimension acts as a microscopic cutting surface. Anything caught in the transition gets severed. No armor can stop a spatial tear. The orc collapses. It never even saw the strike. But my system is already flagging something new. The shipping skill has a 30-second cooldown and a limited range, which makes it tricky to use in a frantic fight. And my aim with it is still garbage. I can't rely on luck when my life is on the line. But there's another side to this power that I'm just starting to master. Recall. Anything I've shipped into my warehouse can be pulled back into reality instantly.
It's the ultimate logistics loop. I don't just store items, I control their location and space. I test it on the fly. The axe I just used to finish the orc vanishes and reappears in my hand. It's just as useful as shipping, if not more so. It cuts out the need to carry heavy gear. But the real payoff is the loot. I don't just recall tools, I can recall mana stones directly from the bodies of the fallen. The system considers anything inside a dead monster as shippable inventory. It's like a video game, but the stakes are visceral. 14 stones. I need to keep moving if I want to get to my family before the sun goes down. Suddenly, a sound cuts through the air that makes the orc's roar sound like a whisper. It's high-pitched, a screech that vibrates in my chest. Something big is circling above. I look up and see a shadow blotting out the moon. That's not an orc, it's a wyvern. It's clutching a water deer in its talons, treating a 100-pound animal like a light snack. With a wingspan that wide, it's a high-tier predator. Taking it down won't be a simple matter of a well-timed portal. But wait, I'm hearing something else over the wind. It's not a monster. A scream for help. A human voice. In this hellscape, that's the rarest sound of all. I turn toward the sound. If there are survivors, they won't last 10 seconds against that thing. There, a man is sprinting through the rubble, his breath coming in ragged, desperate gasps.
He's cornered. The wyvern is playing with him, circling low, enjoying the hunt. The man flinches as the beast dives. He knows he's dead. He just doesn't know when. The wyvern screeches again, a sound of pure dominance. It's faster than anything I've seen on the ground. It lashes out with its tail, a whip crack of bone and scale that sends the man tumbling. He hits the pavement hard. He's done. He can't even get back to his feet. His companion tries to run toward him, but he's just as terrified. They're both easy prey. The wyvern lands, its massive weight cracking the concrete. It's focused entirely on the wounded man. It's the predator's instinct. Target the small, target the weak. It doesn't even see me as a threat. The man stares into the beast's glowing eyes, frozen by a fear so deep it's paralyzing. It opens its maw, drool dripping onto the man's face. This is it, the end of the line for him. I can't just watch. If I want to survive this world, I need allies, or at least information. I need to divert its attention. I don't have a rifle, but I have momentum.
I grip the handlebars and pedal. I need one perfect opening. The wyvern is about to strike. Its neck muscles coil, ready to snap the man in half. I reach for the axe in my warehouse. I don't have time for a portal trap. I have to throw it. A tiny knife or a blunt tool won't work. It has to be a killing blow.
The man looks up, sensing a change in the air. He sees me, a lone figure on a bike. I ring the bell, a sharp mechanical ring that slices through the wyvern's focus. The beast turns, confused by the sound. It's just long enough. I put everything into the throw. The axe spins through the air, a blur of silver and death. It connects, right between the eyes. The sound of steel meeting bone is the most beautiful thing I've heard all day. The wyvern's head snaps back, the light leaving its eyes instantly. It collapses like a mountain of dead weight, its wings twitching one last time before going still. The survivors just stare. They've seen monsters, but they haven't seen them die like this. A one-shot kill on a wyvern. Even I'm a little surprised by how clean it was. I roll up to the body, the bicycle light flickering against the beast's scales. I retrieve my axe. The man on the ground is still trembling, unable to process that he's alive. I take a breath. Is everyone okay? I ask, my voice sounding strange in the sudden quiet. They look at me like I'm a ghost. A guy on a bike just took down a dragon. The wounded man, Mr. Choi, struggles to his feet, his eyes wide with disbelief. They think I'm a soldier. In this world, anyone who can fight is assumed to be military. Did he really just... With an axe? The other one whispers. The shock is written all over their faces.
I don't look like a soldier, but I don't look like a victim either. I look like a variable. They start bowing, thanking me for saving their lives. It's a level of gratitude that feels heavy. I point to the logo on my shirt. I'm not a soldier. I worked at the PAX warehouse. They don't care. To them, the uniform doesn't matter, only the result. You have a special ability, Choi says, his voice full of awe. I don't confirm or deny it. They mention a refuge, a basement terminal where 15 others are hiding. They were out looking for essentials and a drivable road. That catches my attention. Most of the people from the nearby warehouse are dead. The monsters were too many, too fast. But these 15 managed to secure a basement. It's safe for now. I need information. If they have a working car, my search for my family gets a lot easier. I agree to go with them. I don't trust them yet, but I need their intel. They're taking a risk bringing a stranger back, but they're desperate. I can work with desperation. Choi leads the way, his limp heavy, but his spirit buoyed by my presence. I glance back at the wyvern, a waste of a good carcass, but I have what I need. I trigger the recall on the wyvern's mana stone as we walk. It pops out of the skull and into my hand. These guys don't need to know the full extent of my abilities. A little mystery is a good defense.
If things get ugly, I can always slip back into my dimension. They can't follow me there. We reach the basement. The air is thick with the smell of old concrete and fear. A group of survivors is gathered around a man standing over a fresh kill. He doesn't look like the others. His eyes are cold, tactical. He looks like a man who has adapted to the apocalypse a little too well. I get a bad feeling. This isn't just a refuge. This is a kingdom. And I just walked into the throne room.
The terminal is no longer the fortress these survivors thought it was. An orc managed to slip past their defenses, proving that even the most hidden shelters are vulnerable. The manager, Lee, looks shaken. He knows the clock is ticking. The monster is dead, but the sense of security died with it. This place isn't safe anymore. I stay quiet, observing them. They're looking at the corpse, then at me. Word is spreading fast. They saw what I did to that wyvern earlier. I can feel their eyes on me. In this world, strength is the only currency that matters. They're whispering about the axe throw. They think I'm some kind of high-level awakened. I need to keep my cool. If they think I'm a hero, I can use that to my advantage. The murmurs grow louder. To them, I'm a miracle worker who cracks skulls with ease. Someone is approaching. They're moving fast, driven by pure relief. Before I can react, I'm being grabbed. Her hands are trembling, but her grip is firm. She's desperate to show her thanks. She's ecstatic. I saved her colleagues, and she treats it like I've saved her whole world. She won't let go, asking how they can ever repay me for what I've done. I try to play it down, but she's not having it. Humility only makes them trust me more.
The tension breaks for a moment as they start joking around, trying to find some normalcy in the chaos. I step back, trying to maintain some professional distance. The manager, Jin-Mok Lee, steps forward with a grateful smile. He seems like a man who knows how to lead. He bows respectfully. In the apocalypse, a man who can kill monsters is worth more than gold. He offers me a spot in their hideout. They've got food and water, or so they think. Lee is confident. He believes they have a steady supply line from a nearby warehouse. But then, one of his men breaks the news. The look on his face says it all. The warehouse is gone. Not looted, not destroyed, just vanished without a trace. Lee can't believe it. An entire building doesn't just disappear. The shock is turning into panic. Without that warehouse, they have no future here. The workers are losing it. They were counting on those supplies to survive the winter. I watch them spiral. I'm the only one who knows that warehouse is currently sitting in my inventory. The atmosphere is heavy with dread. Their sanctuary just became a prison. Lee tries to rally them. He's pushing for a move through the tunnel, even if it's dangerous. They have to move now. Staying here means starving in the dark. He looks to me for confirmation. He wants to know if I'm with them.
They need cars, but more importantly, they need a path cleared through the monster-infested roads. The highway is broken, and the only viable exit is blocked by a swarm of wyverns. It's a suicide mission for them, but for me, it's an opportunity. Lee offers me a way out, even if I don't want to follow his group. I tell them I need a car anyway, so I'll head to the tunnel first. He's relieved. Having me around makes them feel like they actually have a chance. I have no intention of revealing my true ability to these people yet. They've survived by fighting for every scrap. I've survived by hiding behind a broken system. I need to be cautious. Information is the difference between an ally and a predator. I'll scout the tunnel alone. If I can clear it, I can collect the mana stones for myself. I check my system. The upgrades I saw earlier are still there, waiting to be unlocked. Precision delivery, simultaneous shipping, automatic shipping. These aren't just logistical tools, they're tactical weapons. The costs are steep, but the payoff is game-breaking. I need 10 mana stones for each. I'll kill the wyverns discreetly, harvest their stones, and power up before the group arrives. I just need to keep my true intentions hidden behind this calm facade. But my plan for a solo run hits a snag when Young Soo shows up with a bike.
He's worried about me going alone. He doesn't realize he's just becoming a liability. He trusts me implicitly. That kind of faith is dangerous in a world like this. He's insistent. He wants to help, even if he's scared out of his mind. I guess I'm taking a passenger. This is going to be a long ride. We move out into the ruins of the city under a cold moonlight. The bike hums as we navigate the wreckage of the old world. I'm scanning every shadow. The silence is too loud. Suddenly, Young Soo starts performing some insane acrobatics on the bike. He's standing on the pedals, trying to get a better view of the road ahead. The guy is reckless, but he's right. We need to see what's coming before it sees us. Then he spots it. The first threat is already upon us. A wyvern is circling. I tell him to keep going, but he's already panicking. The road is a maze of stalled cars and debris, making it impossible to pick up real speed. It's right there, looming over the wreckage with glowing red eyes. I yell at him to keep his eyes on the road. We can't afford to crash now. The beast lunges. We barely dodge the first strike.
We're paddling for our lives, but we're heading straight into the heart of their territory.
I prepare to use my ability, but I have to time it perfectly. The tunnel is close, but we're not going to make it at this rate. The bike screeches to a halt. We're trapped. Young-soo freezes. He can see what I see now. Shadows are closing in from all sides. We're surrounded. He's trembling, realizing that his hero might not be enough to save him this time. There are too many of them. The pack has found its prey. One of the wyverns steps forward, letting out a piercing screech that echoes through the ruins. Young-soo thinks it's all over. He's given up. The monster bares its teeth, dripping with hunger. He asks if this is where it all ends. He's looking for a miracle. I can't hide it anymore. If I want to live, I have to use the system. I spend the mana stones, 10 to unlock the skill, 5 to reset the cooldown. I tap the interface, ignoring Young-soo's confused stare. The wyvern lunges, sensing the kill.
It's midair, jaws open, ready to tear us apart. Young-soo screams, closing his eyes for the final blow. He's waiting for the pain, but it never comes. A blinding light flashes as my skill activates. The impact of the delivery is massive, sending a shockwave through the street. He peeks through his fingers, unable to comprehend what just happened. The look of pure shock on his face is almost worth the reveal. A portal has opened, and my drones are already in the air. The real fight starts now.
Time is the most expensive resource I have. I start burning through mana stones to force the system's cooldown lower. Each stone drops the wait time by 5 seconds. In a combat zone, that's the difference between life and death. 15 seconds. 10. I keep pushing until I hit the limit allowed by my current level. The system locks me out of further reductions. To go faster, I'll need to upgrade the parallel dimension itself. I deploy the drone. It's my eyes in the sky while I stay tethered to the warehouse entrance. The area is quiet, but in this world, silence is just a warning. I reach into the remains of the beast to pull out its mana stone. It's messy work, but necessary for fuel. I tell Young-soo to keep his distance. If things go south, he needs to be within my protection range instantly. He looks rattled. Most people would be. He's just a civilian caught in a nightmare. A screech echoes from the clouds. A wyvern. It's diving, and it's picked us as its next meal. The beast closes the gap in seconds, its jaws wide enough to snap a man in half. I don't hesitate. I let the packs fly, aiming for the soft tissue inside that throat. More of them are circling. This isn't just a stray scavenger, it's a hunting party. They're fast, agile, and aggressive, but they haven't seen a weapon like mine before. Another one charges from the flank. I pivot, keeping Young-soo behind the barrier of the portal. I track the movement. Speed is their advantage, but precision is mine.
The axe hits with a dull thud. It doesn't just cut, it disrupts their momentum entirely. The creature skids across the asphalt, losing its grip on the sky. Young-soo can only watch in horror. He's never seen a monster taken down with such clinical efficiency. The blood spray is heavy. I don't look back. I keep my focus on the remaining threats. The wyvern tries to roar, but its lungs are already filling with lead and steel. I stand my ground. If I show even a second of weakness, the rest of the pack will descend. It's over for this one. It falls limp, another carcass added to the ruins of the city. Blood drips from the sky. The air is thick with the scent of iron and ozone. The rest of the pack watches from the shadows of the skyscrapers, reconsidering their odds. Young-soo is staring at me like I'm a ghost. He can't wrap his head around what he just saw. He sees a man who doesn't even view these monsters as a threat. To him, I'm the most dangerous thing in this tunnel. I keep my face neutral. Emotions don't kill monsters. Weapons and mana do. The wyverns finally retreat. They're smart enough to recognize a predator when they see one. They vanish into the dark, leaving us with the silence of the dead road. Young-soo finally finds his voice. He's trying to process the concept of a warehouse that acts as an arsenal. He admits he envies me. He thinks with an ability like this, he could have saved his family by now.
I don't tell him that power always comes with a price. Instead, I just watch the horizon. The wyverns are gone for now, but in this world, nothing stays gone for long. I start looking for the next move. We need a vehicle,
and we need it before the next wave hits. He asks why I need a car if I can fight like this. I tell him the truth. I'm going to Uijeongbu. He freezes. That's a suicide mission. But then he realizes I'm the only one with a real shot at making it. Yongsoo offers a deal. He's a professional driver. He can get me through any terrain if I keep the monsters off his back. He's desperate. He knows he won't survive alone, and he's betting everything on my strength. I consider it. A skilled driver would save me a lot of energy. It's a logical trade, but I have to be careful. If people find out the full extent of my warehouse, I'll become a target for every desperate survivor. In the worst-case scenario, I might have to eliminate anyone who becomes a threat to my secret. Yongsoo seems trustworthy enough for now. He followed me here even after that close call with the wyvern. I agree to the partnership, but with one strict condition. I clear the tunnel alone. He nods vigorously, promising to convince the others to stay back while I work. He heads back to the group, his face filled with a new kind of hope. I just hope he doesn't talk too much. I watch him go. He's already shouting to the others about our plan to break through. He tells them I have an awakened ability and that they need to wait outside while I clear the path.
I can't believe it. I asked him to keep it a secret, and he's essentially announcing that I have a secret. The survivors start whispering. They're confused, but they're also desperate for a way out. This just made me look even more suspicious. I can feel Leader Lee's eyes on me. He's not an easy man to fool. There's no point in worrying about it now. The choice is made. Tomorrow morning, I'm clearing that tunnel. They're worried about food and safety. If I can prove my value, maybe they'll stop asking questions. Leader Lee approaches. He looks me in the eye, his face hardened by years of survival. He tells me he won't ask about my ability. He's smart enough to know that results matter more than explanations. He offers me a share of their meager food supplies. It's a sign of respect I didn't expect. The whole group bows. In their eyes, I've gone from a stranger to their only hope for survival. I try to brush it off. I'm just doing what I have to do to move forward. Gratitude feels out of place here. I tell them to save the food for their families. I have enough of my own, though they don't know it. Yongsoo puts a hand on my shoulder. He tells me to just accept it. To turn them down now would be cold. He reminds me that we all have someone waiting for us. That hits home harder than I'd like to admit. I think of my own family. That's the drive behind every kill, every upgrade, and every risk I take. The atmosphere shifts. The tension breaks, replaced by a momentary sense of community. They bring out the last of their booze, a final toast before the battle begins.
They cheer for a safe trip and for their families. For a moment, we aren't just survivors. We're human again. Morning breaks cold and clear. I check my gear one last time. It's time to move. I tell them to stay put. The tunnel is my mission. I don't want any interference. I mount my bike. It's quiet and fast, perfect for a scout mission. The road ahead is broken, but I've navigated worse. The entrance to the tunnel looms like a massive mouth. I pedal toward the darkness. I can feel their eyes on my back, watching their only chance at escape. I promised them I'd be back. I intend to keep that promise, if only to get to the car I need. I enter the shadow of the concrete. The temperature drops instantly. The silence inside is heavy, broken only by the clicking of my bike's chain. I know what's waiting for me in there. I've seen the patterns. I've heard the sounds. I reach for the packs. My grip is steady. This is what I was built for in this new world. A glint of light catches a monster's eye in the rafters. They're watching me. I don't stop. I keep moving forward, deeper into the heart of the tunnel. The shadows are thick, but I have my own ways of seeing in the dark. I think of the toast from last night, the warmth of the booze, the hope in their voices. It's a heavy burden to carry, but it's the fuel that keeps me going.
One way or another, this tunnel will be clear by midday. I take a deep breath. The air is stale and smells of decay. I see the first movement ahead. Large, slow, something that thinks it owns this space. I increase my pace. I'm not here to hide, I'm here to conquer. The tunnel stretches on, a long, dark throat of concrete and steel. I'm the only thing moving in this graveyard, and I'm the only thing that's going to come out alive. I'll be back in no time, but the man who returns might not be the one they expect.
My parallel dimension ability is the ultimate cheat code in this dying world. Level 1 lets me store any object in sight. It's my vault and my fortress. I can walk in and out of the dimension as I please. In a world overrun by monsters, having a space where nothing can reach you is the only thing that matters. Absolutely nothing enters without my approval. It is the perfect defense and a perfect warehouse. But things just got even more broken. When I stored that massive logistics hub, my system merged with the PAX AI. New skills are unlocking. Shipping lets me fire objects out of my dimension like a railgun at 60 miles per hour. I'm building a stockpile while everyone else is starving. That's my edge. I can eat in peace while the world burns outside. I assumed leveling up wouldn't change much, but the system just notified me of a new potential function. It's not just for simple storage anymore. The system is evolving with me. A laboratory function. For 50 mana stones, I can combine and modify everything I've registered inside the dimension. If leveling makes this even more ridiculous, I need to know exactly how far I can push the baseline storage skill. I want to check all the new functions, but I'm short on mana stones for now. However, I have one use available. Time to test the limits of what store any target really means. When I first stored the warehouse, it was a whim, a gamble to see if the system would let me take a whole building. Now I'm thinking bigger. I need to know where the ceiling is. I focus my intent on the ground beneath my boots, on the world itself. The prompt appears instantly. Target selected for storage. Proceed.
I hold my breath. If I can take the planet, I win the game. The silence in the hub is heavy. My heart is pounding against my ribs as I wait for the system to process. Failed. Target exceeds the storage criteria. Honestly, it would have been too easy. I close the screen as my driver walks in. Better to keep my feet on the ground for now. He's been checking the maps. We need a clear path to Gangnam if we're going to move the heavy gear. Most of the main arteries are clogged with wrecks. He's looking for the gaps in the grid. I ask about his daughter. He was supposed to be resting with her before we set out. He just smiles and points toward the back of the hub. She's out cold. Deep, peaceful sleep amidst the supplies. In this world, that kind of peace is the ultimate luxury. She feels safe here. The man looks relieved. He says he has my back as long as he's able. But there's a look in his eye I haven't seen before. A sudden shift in intensity. He's usually the cautious one, but now he's ready to charge into hell if it means keeping his kids safe. I tell him to take it easy, but he's already grinning behind his shades. He claims driving is all he's good for, but he's easily faster than anyone else on the road. I tell him we need to be smart, not fast, but he isn't listening.
He's practically crying with relief. Having a safe place for his child changed his entire world. We hit the road, the heavy truck roaring as we leave the warehouse behind and head into the ruins. The city is a graveyard of concrete and steel. Every corner holds a potential ambush. Buildings lean precariously over the asphalt, their windows like empty eyes. The weight of the cargo doesn't slow us down. We're moving through the dust and debris at a steady clip. It's a lot quieter than the main highways. No monsters in sight so far. He points out a historic site nearby. That's why there was never much development in this area. He's trying to stay positive, but I can see the fatigue etched into his face. He keeps glancing at the mirrors, checking for tails or anything out of place. Then we see them. Barriers ahead. A full-scale checkpoint blocking the road. This wasn't on our intel. These aren't makeshift. They're military-grade barricades used by the army. He slows down, wondering if the army is still operating in the sector. I look closer. The stance of the men behind the barriers isn't right. I catch a glimpse in the side mirror. A jeep with its lights on, positioned to cut us off. They've been waiting for a big catch like us.
They don't look like they're here to help.
This is going to be a hard exit. I need to make a move before they box us in. I tell him to hide. I open a portal right under his seat so he can slip into the dimension. 3 men approach the truck, rifles leveled at the cab. They aren't soldiers, they're scavengers with high-end gear. I step out of the cab, keeping my hands visible, but my mind focused on the system. The leader sneers, mocking our driving. He was hoping we'd blow a tire so they could just pick the carcass. He tells me to get out and open the cargo. He wants to see exactly what we're hauling. I play along, acting the part of the scared driver. The more they focus on the truck, the less they watch me. The heavy steel doors creak open, revealing the massive haul. Their jaws drop when they see the sheer volume of supplies. Thousands of cans of tuna, a fortune in this world. They think they just hit the jackpot. The leader's eyes turn cold. He tells me the cargo belongs to them now. They're after food and supplies, just like I thought. They aren't interested in a partnership. He wants to know where I found this much food. He's looking for the source. I tell him it's from a warehouse, a place he'll never find without my help. I offer to get them more if they let us pass. I need to see how greedy they really are. I tell them the roads are collapsed and the location is hidden. I'm making myself indispensable.
The leader just glares. He's not interested in a deal. He's interested in control. He asks how much more I have. I tell him this truck is nothing compared to what's left at the hub. One of his men interrupts. They're on a tight schedule. They need to finish up. They need to move before the light fails. They decide to take me with them. The leader orders his man to drive the truck. He's taking me personally to meet his boss. I see the fist coming, but I don't move. I need to get inside their base. The strike lands hard, and everything explodes in white light. I hit the ground, the air knocked out of my lungs as they throw a hood over my head. Everything goes black. I can hear the rain starting to fall as they drag me toward their base. I'm brought into a building. I can hear the heavy thud of a door closing behind me. The air smells like stale smoke and cold metal. I'm being marched into an interrogation. They rip the hood off. The light is blinding for a second as I squint. I blink, trying to get my bearings and assess the room. I'm sitting in a high-backed chair, hands tied. This looks like a military commander's office. Across from me is a man who doesn't belong in that chair. He's a thug in a stolen uniform. The flag on the wall is the only thing that looks official in this room. I look at the floor. Bloodstains. This place wasn't abandoned. It was taken by force. A dead soldier slumped in the corner. These guys slaughtered the original occupants. The man behind the desk lights a cigarette. He's the one calling the shots here. He's heard the story about the food in the truck. He wants the location of the warehouse. I give him a name, Gunpo. It's far enough away to buy me the time I need to dismantle them. He seems satisfied for now. He's arrogant, thinking he's the king of this hill. I ask him where we are. He laughs and tells me it's an army base. The Rock Defense Communication Command, the heart of the military's network. He admits he was exempt from service. He doesn't even know the name of the place he hijacked. He tells me to wait. It's almost 6 p.m. The beast is coming. A piercing, bone-chilling screech echoes through the walls of the base. The thug doesn't even flinch. He's seen this before, and it terrifies him. I look toward the window. The sound is getting louder, closer. Wyverns. A whole flight of them circling the skies above the base. They're massive. Monsters that shouldn't exist in our reality. Yet here they are. This base is not a fortress anymore. It is bait for creatures from another world. The thug admits his powers couldn't even scratch them. He's completely outmatched. He's frustrated. He has the guns, but they're useless against beasts of that scale. He tells me about the soldiers who tried to fight back. They were slaughtered where they stood. He waited for the monsters to thin out the ranks, then stepped in to take control of what was left. He kept a few officers alive for information, but they're starving and broken. That's why he needs me. He has the weapons and the base, but he's out of food. He tells me if I cooperate, I might survive the night and join his little club. I look at him and mumble my response. I've already decided what to store next. This place is perfect, high-tech, secure, and filled with military gear. I call out to Pax. I give the command that will end his rule. Store the rock dreck in my parallel dimension, every floor, every wall, and every man inside.
In a world that's stopped making sense, survival depends on how fast you can adapt. Right now, my life depends on how fast I can pedal. I'm heading straight into the dark. The tunnel is a death trap, but I have no intention of staying a victim. The tires skid over cracked asphalt and debris. Every second counts when you're surrounded by things that want to tear you apart. The shadows are alive. Wyverns. They're faster than they look and far more aggressive than anything from our world. One slip and it's over. But I'm not just some delivery guy anymore. I've got a system and I've got a plan. I look back for a moment. This apocalypse is just getting started, but I've already seen enough to know that the old rules are dead. Memories of a simpler time drift in. Arguments over who hit who first. Typical sibling rivalry. The fights were loud, messy, and constant. But back then, the stakes were just a few bruises. My father used to try and play peacemaker, exhausted from a long day's work, but always present. He had this look in his eyes, a mix of patience and a deep, quiet love for the chaos we created. He told us we actually got along well. At the time, we thought he was delusional as we pulled each other's hair. He was an only child. He saw something in our bickering that we couldn't, the bond of blood. He'd tell us that one day we'd realize how precious family really is. That day came much sooner than I expected. He was about to say something profound, something about love being the ultimate bond. Then Mom would burst in with a ladle, demanding help with dinner. Reality always had a way of cutting short the sentiment. We'd freeze, staring at her like deer in headlights. It was a normal, boring, beautiful life.
That kid in the memory, with the black eye and the messy hair, he had no idea what was coming. And now, I'm the one left to remember it all, to hold on to what's left of that family. The sound of sobbing brings me back. Mr. Lee is falling apart, clutching a bottle and crying for his son. In this new world, grief is a luxury most can't afford, but for him, it's the only thing he has left. The others try to calm him down, but how do you comfort a man who's lost everything to the monsters? The moon hangs high and cold over our camp. It's a silent witness to the end of our civilization. Men are passed out on the concrete, exhausted by fear and physical labor. The tunnel is silent for now. One of the workers wakes up, disoriented. The basic need for a bathroom is a dangerous mission in a place like this. He looks around, noticing I'm not in my spot. In a group this small, everyone notices when someone goes missing. The others tell him I went for some air. They assume I'm just as restless as they are. Young Soo goes looking for me. He's been my right-hand man through this, but even he doesn't know the full extent of my power. He peeks around the side of a massive transport truck, expecting to see me staring into the dark. Instead, he finds me busy. I've been using the quiet hours to prepare for our next move. He asks why I'm not sleeping. I can't tell him that my mind is racing with system notifications and tactical data. I signal him to come closer. It's time he saw what we're actually working with. His eyes go wide as he looks into the back of the truck. He wasn't prepared for what I've been hiding.
Rows of boxes, supplies, and even a bike. It looks like a fully stocked warehouse jammed into a single vehicle. I explain that I've only loaded it halfway to keep the weight manageable. He can barely process the sheer volume of gear. Then I drop the real bombshell. This isn't the only one. This is just the last truck in the line. 15 trucks, all of them loaded with enough food and supplies to keep a small army alive for months. Yangsu is terrified for me. He knows where we are. He knows that having this much in a world of nothing makes me a target. He can't wrap his head around how I'm just giving it away. He doesn't realize that for me, this is just a fraction of my inventory. My mind drifts back to the battle. The impact of the wyvern's skull against the floor was a sound I'll never forget. They keep coming, wave after wave. My drones and skills are the only things holding the line. A wyvern lunges at my shield, its maw open and screaming. It's pure, mindless hunger. I hold firm. If I break, everyone behind me dies. If I could bring them all into my parallel dimension, I would, but the system has its limits. Pax confirms my fears. My current level isn't enough to shelter a crowd. I need to grow stronger. 32 out of 100 mana stones. I'm not even halfway to level 2. I need more kills. 40 wyverns left in the tunnel. That's my tally. Not enough to level up, but enough to clear a path. Some of them are actually retreating. Even monsters have an instinct for self-preservation when they meet a predator like me. A shadow moves.
They're circling something. Or someone. The hierarchy of these creatures is starting to reveal itself. There it is. A flash of light reveals a massive silhouette perched on a car. It's watching me. The pressure it exerts is heavy. This isn't just another wyvern. This is the alpha, a boss, or perhaps a host for something even worse. Either way, it's the real threat in this tunnel. Morning light breaks through the clouds. It's a new day, but the world is still broken. The workers stand ready. They've seen what I can do, and for the first time, they have hope. They're nervous. They know the road ahead is full of monsters, and they're relying on me to lead them through. Suddenly, a shout. I'm back from my scouting run, and the relief on their faces is palpable. I roll in on the bike, blood-stained and weary, but moving with a purpose they all recognize. The blood on my clothes tells the story of what I encountered in the dark. It's a grim uniform for a grim job. My hands are steady on the handlebars. I've survived the tunnel, but the city outside is a whole different beast. The workers stare in awe. They're starting to realize I'm not just a lucky survivor. I'm something else entirely. One of the women looks at me with a mix of fear and gratitude. She knows I'm their only chance. I give them a small, reassuring nod. We have a convoy to move and families to find. A cheer goes up. It's a fragile sound in such a desolate place, but it's enough to get the engines turning. Mr. Lee addresses the group. He's found his resolve again, spurred on by the mission I've given them. They thank me, calling me Mr. Lee out of respect. They're heading home because of the supplies I provided. Mr. Lee smiles. It's a tired, worn-out smile, but it's genuine. He's going to try to find his son. I remind them to check the cargo if they run into trouble. I've packed more than just food in those trucks. They don't know what I mean yet, but they'll find out soon enough. In this world, a little help goes a long way. The engines roar to life. The sound of 15 trucks vibrating the air is the most beautiful thing I've heard in days. We pull out of the tunnel area, a line of steel and hope cutting through the devastation. The convoy moves slowly, navigating around the wrecks of the old world. Every turn is a tactical decision. Young-soo waves to the other drivers. We're a team now, bound together by the need to survive. We hit the main highway. It's a graveyard of abandoned cars and broken dreams, stretching as far as the eye can see. From above, we must look like a tiny thread of life, trying to stitch a torn world back together. The sun is blinding, reflecting off the glass and metal. It's a beautiful day for the end of the world. I sit in the passenger seat, staring out at the ruins. My mind keeps drifting back to that alpha wyvern. It definitely wasn't normal. It was bigger, smarter, and it let me go. That's what worries me. I'm covered in the filth of battle, but I don't feel tired. I feel focused. The system is changing me. A sudden crack of sound snaps me back to attention. Something is nearby. The city skyline looms ahead, but it's not the sanctuary people hoped for. Smoke rises from a dozen different points.
We pass a fallen soldier. His gear is scattered. His mission failed. Even the military couldn't handle this. Young-soo sees it too. He grips the wheel tighter, his face pale. The reality of the situation is sinking in. There's no helping the dead. We have to keep moving. Survival is for those who look forward, not down. The roads are blocked by every imaginable obstacle. Dead bodies, monsters, flipped cars. It's a labyrinth of horror. Seeing soldiers left to rot on the side of the street tells me everything I need to know. The chain of command has collapsed. A scavenger monster gnaws on a corpse in the middle of the road. It doesn't even look up as we pass. It's already adjusted to the new food source. I think about my own time in the service. If I hadn't been discharged when I was, I'd be one of them, just another body in the dirt. The truck screeches to a halt. Barbed wire fences block the entire width of the bridge. Beyond the wire, the road is a mess of overturned vehicles and blood. This wasn't a random accident. This was a desperate defense. Young-soo figures the army set this up to keep things from getting through. The question is, what were they trying to stop? He wants to take a detour to find another bridge. But I see something at the far end that changes everything. Monsters. Not wyverns this time. These look like hounds from hell prowling through the wreckage. They're lean, muscular, and look like they could outrun a car. They're hunting in a pack. I look at them and see more than just a threat. I see mana stones. I see a way to level up my dimension. Young-soo is panicking, reaching for the gear shift to turn us around. He thinks we're trapped. But I've spotted a narrow path, a sidewalk that might just be wide enough for the truck to squeeze through.
It's tight and it's dangerous, but it bypasses the main roadblock and puts us right behind the pack. I put a hand on Young-soo's arm. He freezes, looking at me like I've lost my mind. He asks if the truck can even fit. I tell him it's possible. And in this world, possible is all the permission I need. I've got a great idea to get past this area. We don't need a detour. We need to go forward. I can't help but grin. Most people see an end, but with this system, I only see opportunities to grow stronger.
I don't believe in detours. In this world, the straightest path is usually the most dangerous. But I've got a plan to clear the way. Young-soo looks like he's seen a ghost. He doesn't realize that the chaos ahead is exactly what I'm looking for. A massive ogre is tearing through a pack of hounds right in the middle of our path. It's a bloodbath, and we're driving straight into the center of it. The monsters are locked in a frenzy, completely oblivious to the truck approaching their kill zone. The ground trembles under the weight of the struggle. This isn't just a fight, it's a territorial slaughter. The sounds of bone-crushing and flesh-tearing fill the air. These things are efficient killers, but they're about to meet something even more relentless. Blood splashes against the windshield, blurring the line between the road and the carnage. We aren't stopping. Young-soo is paralyzed. He's a driver, not a soldier, and the bridge ahead looks like a one-way trip to the afterlife. He asks if I'm sure about this. In a world with a system, certainty is the only thing that keeps you alive. He's never seen anyone charge a bridge blocked by high-rank monsters without a second thought. I explain the logic. It's like a strategy game. You don't need an army if you have the right terrain and a few specialized units. He gulps, realizing that my definition of specialized might be a bit different from his. The barbed wire fence is the only thing separating us from 100 hungry maws. It's time to set the stage. We slam into the position. The impact rattles the frame, but we're exactly where we need to be. The monsters stop. They've noticed the new prey in their midst. The hounds turn their attention toward us, their eyes glowing with a feral hunger that doesn't care about metal or glass.
I tap the interface. It's time to spend some of those hard-earned mana stones. 10 stones to unlock automatic shipping. It's an investment that's about to pay off in blood. I order the system to max out the shipping speed. If I'm going to do this, I'm doing it at full throttle. Another 5 stones, and the speed is set to 60 miles per hour. That's a lot of kinetic energy coming their way. I step out, the blue glow of the system reflecting in my eyes. The dinner bell just rang, and I'm serving the main course. The hounds dash forward, a wave of red fur and teeth. They think they found an easy meal. The system dings. French door refrigerator, 830 liters. Market price, nearly 3 million won. It materializes mid-air with a deafening crash. A $2,000 appliance just became a lethal projectile. The first hound doesn't even have time to whimper before several hundred pounds of steel and insulation flattens it into the pavement. 12 mana stones obtained instantly. The system is already paying for itself.
I can't help but laugh. There's something satisfying about watching the apocalypse get handled by high-end kitchenware. I've upgraded the distance and precision. Every delivery is a guaranteed kill. The system adjusts the trajectory mid-flight. It's like a homing missile, but with more storage space. These hounds are fast, running like cheetahs, but they can't outrun a direct delivery from my warehouse. My cooldown is sitting at 2.5 seconds. Normally, that's too slow for a pack this size, but I'm not using axes anymore. A refrigerator is massive. It has a huge hitbox and enough mass to ignore the momentum of a charging monster.
Even a grazing blow is enough to shatter bone and send them spiraling into the abyss. The automatic shipping handles the rest. I don't even have to aim anymore. The system just clears the path. I take a deep breath and yawn. It's exhausting work, even when the system is doing the heavy lifting. The hounds keep coming, driven by a primitive instinct that hasn't realized it's outmatched by logistics. Another thwack, another kill. The bridge is becoming a graveyard of appliances and monsters. Yangsu watches through the side mirror, his jaw hitting the floor as he sees a refrigerator flying through the air. He's gasping, unable to comprehend what he's seeing. He thought axes were impressive, but this is a whole different level of crazy. He notices that every single fridge is the same brand. He's wondering how one warehouse could possibly have this much stock. It's the brand new condition that really gets him. It's not just junk, it's a never-ending supply of luxury goods used as hammers. I lean back into the truck and ask Yangsu if he's hungry. The monsters are handled, might as well have a snack. He just stares at me. The disconnect between the slaughter outside and my casual tone is too much for him. He finally asks the question, is the stock infinite? He's starting to realize the true scale of my ability. I give him a look that says everything he needs to know. Knowledge is power, but some things are better left as a mystery. I told him I thought he knew already. I only retrieve the items so we don't get a flat tire driving over them later. I step back into the cab, my movements relaxed while the world outside continues to burn. Yangsu is sweating. He's realized he's riding with a man who can summon a supermarket's worth of inventory on a whim.
He asks for a donut and a zero cola. Even in the apocalypse, a man has his preferences. The sky is clear, and for a moment, the world looks almost peaceful, despite the monsters falling from the bridge behind us. Yangsu chuckles, feeling a bit embarrassed. He tried to share his meager food earlier, not knowing I had everything we could ever need. I just smile. His trust was worth more than the food. In this new world, loyalty is the rarest commodity of all. I tell him to let me know if he needs anything. I've got a warehouse full of solutions for any problem he might have. He mentions he's excited to see his folks. We're close now, only about an hour away once we clear this bridge. His expression softens. The hope of finding his family alive is the only thing keeping him behind that wheel. I see him choke back some emotion. I hope for his sake they're okay. I know how rare happy endings are these days. He glances at me, noticing my blood-stained clothes. He points out that I probably shouldn't show up to see family looking like a butcher. He's right. Appearance matters, even when the world is ending. It gives people a sense of normalcy. I ask him what his style is. If I can provide a fridge, I can certainly provide a wardrobe change. He grins, eager to see what else I've got hidden in that invisible warehouse of mine. A pair of aviators and a pilot's jacket. It's classic, tactical, and a hell of a lot better than a blood-soaked uniform. He looks like a different man. The confidence boost is exactly what he needed before the final stretch. Most of the monsters are dead now. The bridge is finally open, and the road ahead is clear of immediate threats. He tells me we can leave. He's ready to finish this journey, and so am I.
He slams the gear shift into place, his movements sharp and determined. He's not the same nervous driver I met in the tunnel. He floors the accelerator. The truck roars to life, eager to leave the carnage of the bridge behind. The tires screech against the asphalt. We're moving fast, pushing the heavy vehicle to its limits. I'm caught off guard by his sudden aggression. He's really pushing this thing. We fly past the remaining hounds, the truck a blur of white metal against the gray ruins of the city. The scenery withers by. We're making record time, but the ride is getting a little rough for my taste. Yangsu is working the gears like a pro, his focus entirely on the road and the destination ahead. He tells me to hold on tight. He says we'll be there in 20 minutes. I'm starting to regret giving him that pilot jacket. The truck screeches around a corner, narrowly avoiding a pile of debris. This isn't driving, it's a low-altitude flight. We're tearing through the city streets, the sound of the engine echoing off the empty skyscrapers. Another hard turn. The tires are screaming for mercy, and my stomach is starting to do somersaults. I tell him to slow down before I puke. Even a warehouse-owning hero has his limits when it comes to motion sickness. He just gives me a quick look, his eyes hidden behind those aviators. He's in the zone now. Then he stops. We've arrived. The building stands tall, scarred by the apocalypse, but still standing. We're here.
The apartment complex is showing its age, but it's still standing. That's a good sign. It's the same for the rest of the block. This is an old neighborhood, tucked away from the main chaos of the roadside. There's rubble and broken glass everywhere, but something important is missing. There are no bodies on the street. We reach the door, and Yangsu completely freezes up. His hand is hovering over the lock, trembling like a leaf. He's terrified. He's come all this way, but now he's scared that opening this door will make his worst fears a reality. He can't do it. The man who just drove through a literal war zone is suddenly broken by a simple piece of plastic and a passcode. He pushed that car to the breaking point, cutting an hour-long drive down to 20 minutes. He's been running on pure adrenaline this whole time. But if his family is already dead, then all that determination and speed didn't mean a damn thing. He's stuck in that agonizing moment between hope and total devastation. I step up and tap him on the shoulder. I know that paralyzing fear all too well. It's the weight of the unknown. I ask him if he wants me to ring the bell for him, to be the one to face whatever is waiting on the other side. He gulps, his eyes wide and searching mine for some kind of reassurance I can't actually give him. He gives a weak, shaky nod. He needs someone else to take that first step into the truth. I step forward. Nobody wants to be the one to confirm their own family is gone, even if there's a tiny chance they're safe. If I were in his position, I'd be doing the exact same thing, putting off the reality as long as possible to avoid the pain. I reach for the button. The air in the hallway feels heavy and stagnant, like it's holding its breath along with us.
Yangsu stands back, his shoulders slumped, waiting for his life to either restart or end right here in this corridor. I press the button. A sharp mechanical clunk from the electronic lock echoes through the quiet hall. We both freeze. The sound of the lock turning means someone is actually inside. The door cracks open, and the light from the apartment spills out into the dark hallway. It's his wife and daughter. They're standing there, wide-eyed and shocked, but they're alive and unharmed. She looks at him like she's seeing a miracle, her voice catching in her throat as she realizes it's really him. Yangsu breaks down. The tears start flowing immediately, a release of all the terror he's been carrying since the world fell apart. He doesn't wait for an invitation. He bolts forward, his legs finally moving again. He pulls them both into a massive, desperate hug. This is the payoff. This is why we fought through the city. I stand back and watch the reunion. It's a rare bit of warmth in a world that's gone cold and violent. He's sobbing into her shoulder, the weight of the apocalypse finally crashing down on him now that he knows they're safe. She's holding him back just as tight, the reality of his return finally sinking in through the shock. Even the little girl is crying, squeezing her dad's arm like she's afraid he'll vanish if she lets go for even a second. Yangsu looks back at me, trying to tell them that I'm the reason he made it home safely, but his voice starts to blur and fade. The edges of my vision are swimming, turning into a hazy, dark gray. My knees buckle. The adrenaline that's been keeping me upright through the chaos has finally run dry.
I hit the floor hard. My eyes are heavy, and I can't keep them open any longer, no matter how hard I try. I see Yongsu's panicked face as he reaches for me, but it feels like he's miles away in a different world. Everything fades to black. The sounds of the reunion are muffled by a thick,
heavy silence. I try to fight it, but my body has reached its absolute limit. I just can't resist the darkness anymore. Suddenly, I'm back in a memory. My father is looking at me, his face calm and steady, just like it always was. He's talking about goodbyes, about how they don't always have to be filled with pure sorrow. We're at my mother's funeral. Her smiling face in the frame is a sharp, painful contrast to the grief in the room. He tells me that a goodbye is more than just an end. It's a collection of every memory you shared with that person. I ask him how he can be so calm. I'm just a kid, and all I feel is the massive hole left in my chest. He says she taught him the true meaning of love, unconditional devotion that survives even after someone is gone. He tells me that giving and receiving love isn't easy, but it's what makes us human. It's the only thing that lasts. The memory shifts. Now I'm back in our old living room, and something just hit me square in the face. It's Sol. She's lunging at me with a pillow, a mischievous, competitive grin on her face. I'm on the floor, groaning from the impact. She's always been way stronger than she looks. I'm yelling at her, complaining that she hits way too hard for a simple pillow fight. She just sighs and tells me to quit acting like a weakling. She claims she was barely even trying.
I'm storming off, shouting that I hate her, and I'm telling Dad. Standard sibling warfare. Dad just watches us with a small, knowing smirk, while Mom yells for us to get to the table. The smell of dinner fills the house. It's a memory of a life that feels like it belonged to a completely different person. We're all gathered around the table, the steam rising from a bowl of spicy kimchi stew. Mom is nagging Juyan to put her phone away and eat. It's so normal and boring it actually hurts to remember. Sol is acting cool, claiming she's just texting her friends, but Mom isn't buying the act for a second. We're watching MMA, and Sol is narrating every punch like she's a professional commentator. Mom sighs, wishing she could watch her soaps, but Sol is completely hooked on the technique of the fighters. Dad suggests that Sol join the boxing club when she gets to junior high. He thinks she'd be a natural at it. She smirks. That's been her plan all along. She wants to be a champion, and she starts junior high next year. Then it was my turn to start junior high. I remember walking through those gates for the first time. I was wearing my new suit, feeling like a big shot, ready to finally start my adult life. I saw the welcome banner and had high hopes. I thought I was finally going to find my place. But the reality was different. The halls were filled with kids who were much bigger and meaner than I expected. I tried to blend in, to just be another face in the crowd and avoid any kind of trouble. My uniform was perfect and crisp, but I didn't feel like I actually belonged in it.
I kept my head down, hoping no one would notice how out of my depth I really was. I felt shabby and small compared to everyone else, like I was wearing a costume that didn't fit. But I put on a smile anyway. It was a new school. I was supposed to be happy and excited. That didn't last long. The first punch caught me right in the jaw, and the world spun. Then they were all over me, thwacks and kicks coming from every direction as I fell. I was on the ground, just trying to protect my head while they stomped on me. Humiliation was worse than the pain. One of them wound up for a big finishing blow, his face twisted in a nasty, arrogant grin. But his arms stopped dead. Someone had caught his fist mid-air with a grip like iron. A hand clamped down on his wrist. The bully looked up, confused, and suddenly scared. It was my sister. She was wearing her gym tracksuit, looking like a total predator. She didn't say a word. She just squeezed his wrist, and the guy's face went white with pain. The bully scrambled and ran. They knew who she was, the boxing club's rising heavyweight star. She looked down at me, her expression a mix of pity and cold frustration. She called me pathetic and told me that starting tomorrow, I was training with her every single morning. The sun was barely up the next day when she dragged me out of bed and into the park. I was dying, huffing and puffing, my lungs feeling like they were on fire as I tried to keep up.
She didn't let up for a second. She pushed me until I was dizzy and ready to collapse. Years of that relentless training turned me into a completely different person. Then came the day Juyeon got her acceptance letter to Seoul College of Nursing. We were all celebrating in the living room. For a moment, it felt like things were finally going our way. Then I heard the mail slot. A single white envelope hit the floor with a soft thud. I picked it up, my heart dropping into my stomach before I even saw the return address. I pulled out the paper, my hands shaking just a little bit as I unfolded it. I froze. The words on the page were clear, formal, and absolutely final. Notice of conscription. My time in the civilian world was officially over. I remember standing at the gates of the Army Training Center, looking back one last time. My family was there, waving like crazy, trying to stay positive even though they were hurting. Mom was sobbing, her hands pressed to her face as she told me to take care and come back soon. Dad was standing tall, his eyes full of pride. "We're rooting for you, son." I turned my back and started walking toward the barracks. Every step felt like I was losing a piece of my soul. I could still hear them shouting from behind the fence. "Eat well, sleep well, see ya." I gritted my teeth, trying to be the strong man they expected me to be.
But as soon as I was around the corner, the tears started falling. I wasn't ready to leave them. The darkness of the memory starts to lift. I can feel a soft mattress underneath me. I blink my eyes open. I'm in a strange room, the warm sunlight filtered through a window. I spring up, my heart hammering against my ribs as I try to orient myself in this new place. Where am I? This isn't the army base. This isn't the cult street. Then it clicks. Young-soo's apartment. I must have passed out right after he reunited with his family. I instinctively reach for my tool, my hand closing around the familiar grip as I hear a voice. Then I see them. Young-soo's wife and daughter are sitting in the kitchen, bathed in the morning light. They're just eating breakfast. It's a scene of perfect domestic peace. For a second, I almost forget the world ended outside.
I wake up on high alert, my hand instinctively reaching for a weapon. My eyes lock onto the shadows across the room. But instead of a monster, I find a mother and her child. The girl is focused on her meal, oblivious to my sudden movement. The tension in the room breaks. I'm not in a war zone, I'm in someone's home. I hear snoring from the corner. It's peaceful, a sound that's become incredibly rare since the world ended. I realize I must have collapsed. The exhaustion finally caught up to me, and I was out cold. Young-soo's wife notices me waking up. She explains that I was completely drained, and they didn't want to disturb my rest. I check my surroundings and my gear. Habit is a hard thing to break when survival is the only rule. I quickly store my weapon back into the subdimension. I don't want to frighten the family more than I already have. I ask how long I've been out. 3 hours. Not long, but enough to regain some strength. She looks at me with a warmth I haven't seen in a long time. Young-soo told her everything that happened at the tunnel. They're grateful. In a world where everyone is out for themselves, a simple act of protection means everything. I try to brush it off. Young-soo helped me just as much as I helped him. Speaking of Young-soo, the man himself starts to stir. He's been waiting for me to wake up before eating. Jisoo invites us to the table. She's prepared a meal, and the smell is already doing wonders for my morale. Young-soo gives me a tired but sincere smile. We made it out of that hellhole together. I can't help but grin back. This is what survival looks like when you actually succeed.
The main dish is braised sari. In the apocalypse, fresh ingredients are like gold, and this looks like a feast. I'm stunned. I wasn't expecting anything like this. It's a genuine luxury. I hesitate for a second, looking at the bowl of rice. It's been so long since I've had a meal that wasn't pre-packaged or scavenged. I thank her properly. Respect is the one currency that still has value. She leaves the room to give us some space, taking the child with her. The privacy is appreciated, but I'm more focused on the steam rising from the bowl. I take the first bite. The flavors are sharp, savory, and perfectly balanced. It's better than any high-end restaurant I visited before the fall. For a moment, the weight of the world lifts. This is more than just fuel. It's a reminder of humanity. I'm genuinely moved. You don't realize how much you miss these things until they're gone. The kimchi is perfect. The texture, the spice, it's all there. It's heartwarming. It's the kind of meal that gives you a reason to keep moving forward. I finish every last bit. I can't afford to waste a single drop of this. I set the spoon down and take a breath. My body feels fueled and my mind is clearing up. I tell Young-soo it's the best food I've had since my military discharge. It tastes like home. The conversation shifts back to reality. I still have a long way to go to reach my family in Ujeongbu.
Young-soo makes a surprising offer. He wants to give me a ride toward Gangnam in his truck. I'm caught off guard. He just got home to his wife and daughter. Leaving again is a massive risk. I point out that Gangnam is just a waypoint. I need to go much further, and the roads are deadly. He doesn't flinch. He's thought this through. He wants to step outside and discuss the terms. The sky outside is a mix of orange and ash. The world is still burning, even if this one apartment feels safe. We stand by the heavy transport truck. It's an armored beast, but it's a target for anything lurking in the ruins. The plan is simple but dangerous. He drives me to Gangnam, then returns home on an electric bike. He's trying to be casual about it, but he knows the odds. One wrong turn and he's never coming back. I lean against the truck, processing the offer. Having a vehicle and a driver like him would change everything. But the question remains, why? Why risk everything he just got back? He's fast on that bike, sure. He could probably outrun most threats if he stays on the move. But speed won't help if he gets cornered. This isn't just about driving. It's about life and death. I sigh. I can't let him do this out of some misplaced sense of debt. It's too much. I tell him straight up. He fought so hard to see his family again. Why throw that away for me? I need to understand his motivation. Is he really that selfless, or is there more to it? He laughs it off, scratching the back of his head. He says I saved his life, and that's reason enough.
He asks me why I helped him in the tunnel. I don't have a tactical answer for that. We stand in silence for a moment. In this world, you help people because it's the only way to stay human. He smiles, knowing he's made his point. He survived because of me, and he wants to pay it forward. I look at the truck, then back at him. I have a counteroffer, something he won't expect. We're all in the same position, struggling to protect what we love. I realize I have the power to actually do it. My ability, the subdimension, is the key. It's the ultimate shelter. If he helps me reach my family, I can provide a level of safety for his that no apartment building can match. He's listening now. The carefree attitude is gone, replaced by the focus of a man who sees a real opportunity. I explain my condition. He doesn't come alone. He brings his family with him. Inside my dimension, they'll be safe. I'll be back in no time to get them, but they need to be ready. I head back toward the bike. The deal is struck, but I need to prepare the space first. I look at the vehicle keys. My mind is already moving toward the next tactical phase. The key glints in the light. It's the start of a new partnership, a real alliance. Everything has to be precise. In the apocalypse, details are the difference between living and dying. I'm ready. My path is clear, and for the first time, I'm not walking it alone. I turn the bike around. There's work to be done, and mana to be spent.
The tunnel looms in the distance, a reminder of where we came from. We aren't going back there. I chuckle to myself. Young-soo is a good man. Finding someone like him is rarer than finding a cache of supplies. He's still fidgeting, probably nervous about the idea of entering a literal hole in space-time. I remind him that the dimension is my territory. Nothing gets in without my permission. I call forth the interface. It's time to upgrade the warehouse. The air begins to shimmer with mana. The power I've accumulated is finally being put to its best use. I explain that with a level up, the dimension can accommodate more people. It's no longer just a storage locker. Thanks to the monsters I cleared out earlier, I have a surplus of mana stones. It's an investment in our collective future. Young-soo watches in awe.
He's seen my power before, but this is different. This is creation. I tell him to go get his wife and daughter. We're moving them to a place where the monsters can't reach. He doesn't need to be told twice. He puts on his shades, a determined look on his face. We're leaving. The interface prompt appears. 100 mana stones to reach level 2. I don't hesitate. Execute. The progress bar fills rapidly. The dimension is expanding, restructuring itself to my needs. Upgrade complete. Level 2 warehouse is active. The maintenance cost has jumped, but the benefits are worth it. The capacity has increased to 20 people. I can also store targets in my line of sight now. That's a massive tactical advantage. New abilities are available. The system is evolving as I do. I'll check the specifics later.
I turn my attention back to the present. The family is here, ready to step into the unknown. The system asks for confirmation. Allow entry? Yes. Always yes for allies. They walk through the shimmering portal. It's a leap of faith, leaving the physical world behind. The portal hums with energy as they cross the threshold. They're safe now, truly safe. Their expressions say it all. Pure shock. They were expecting a bunker, not a high-tech logistics hub. The scale of the warehouse is breathtaking. Rows of shelves stretching into the distance, filled with everything they could ever need. I introduced them to Pax. He's the steward of this place, and he'll take care of their every need. Pax is efficient and friendly. Having an AI assistant helps maintain order in this infinite space. They can't believe it. Infinite food, clean water, and no monsters. It's a literal paradise in the middle of hell. Jisoo is overwhelmed. She realized that these precious supplies aren't just limited caches, they're a renewable resource. I tell them to rest and settle in. Yongsoo and I have a mission, and we leave in 30 minutes. The atmosphere is light for the first time. The little girl is cheering. It's a small victory, but it feels huge. I watch them interact, a real family unit. This is what I'm fighting to protect. This is why I won't lose. I glance back at the system interface. Level 2 has opened up new possibilities that I need to master. The Parallel Dimension Laboratory. This is where the real power-up begins. Time to see what I can build.
The sun sets on a world that's about to get a lot more dangerous. The armed guards scan the horizon, their confusion growing by the second. They can't wrap their heads around it. An entire military base has vanished into thin air. The man responsible is right in front of them, but he's in no condition to gloat. Storing a structure that massive has taken a brutal physical toll. Nausea and vertigo hit him like a freight train. This is the price of his impossible ability. He has to cut his bonds now, before the guards decide he's more trouble than he's worth. But the air suddenly changes, heavy with a new kind of dread. A shadow falls over the field, reflected in the eyes of the terrified men. A swarm of wyverns descends from the clouds, blotting out the remaining light. The lead monster lets out a piercing screech, signaling the start of the hunt. The captors aren't soldiers. They're just thugs, and thugs run when things get real. Their leader screams for them to stand their ground, but panic has already taken hold. The protagonist realizes this chaos is his only window to escape. He fights through the agonizing dizziness, forcing his body to respond. The dragon-like beast looms over the slaughter, watching the humans scatter.
Sweat pours down his face as he reaches for a soldier lying in the dirt. The giant monster tracks his every move with an unsettling, focused intelligence. It's ignoring the fleeing thugs. It's looking directly at him. Those glowing eyes, it knows exactly what he's doing. He doesn't wait to find out why. He grabs the injured soldier and lunges toward the portal. The system pings immediately, identifying an unauthorized presence. Bringing an outsider into his private dimension is a massive tactical risk, but he won't leave a man behind to be torn apart by those things. They collapse onto the floor of the warehouse, lungs burning as they catch their breath. The side effects of large-scale storage are too dangerous to ignore next time. That monstrous gaze felt like it was scanning his very soul. Even safe inside his own dimension, he can still feel the weight of that stare. Why was the alpha focused so intently on him? It didn't behave like a mindless beast. It was acting like it recognized a threat. Outside, the thugs who didn't run fast enough are being systematically wiped out. They thought they were the top of the food chain, but the rules have changed.
He watches the carnage through the shrinking portal, his expression grim. He needs to close the gate before one of those things tries to force its way in. The portal snaps shut, finally cutting them off from the nightmare outside. Yongsu comes charging in, his voice filled with relief and worry. The protagonist is intact, but the soldier he brought back is barely clinging to life. He's pale, his breathing shallow. He's been through absolute hell. His uniform is stained with old blood and fresh grime. They quickly move him to a bed in the secure living area. There are no deep lacerations, which gives them a fighting chance. The diagnosis is clear: severe malnutrition and total exhaustion. With the soldier stable, Yongsu looks past the protagonist and freezes. He sees something massive towering over the warehouse's internal structures. A skyscraper-sized building has manifested in the middle of the dimension. It's the military headquarters. The entire base made the jump with him. Yongsu can't even process the scale of what he's looking at. The true potential of the storage ability is finally becoming clear.
The protagonist heads out to inspect his massive new acquisition. He's looking at a literal fortress, ready to be utilized. An entire army's worth of infrastructure, now under his exclusive control. He grabs a bike to scout the perimeter. Walking this distance would take all day. This base isn't just a building, it's a strategic gold mine for the apocalypse. It's loaded with heavy vehicles, fuel reserves, and strategic goods. But navigating this maze to find the specific gear they need is going to be a hassle. It dwarfs the original warehouse sector. It's a city within a dimension. He needs a way to organize and deploy these resources efficiently. Managing this manually is impossible for one man. Yongsu catches up, eager to help turn this base into a functioning stronghold. They need to locate the armory and the fuel depots immediately. Suddenly, Pax descends from the ceiling, its rotors whirring softly. The AI drone has already begun mapping the new addition to the dimension. Pax confirms that the base is being formatted into the system's database. Once the items are classified with product codes, they can be managed via the system.
That means every rifle and vehicle in this base can be duplicated and shipped. He has just unlocked an infinite supply of military-grade hardware. The realization hits him. They'll never have to worry about running out of ammo again. However, Pax warns that the data processing is still in its early stages. Progress is barely at 1%. A full integration will take time they don't have. He can't wait for a complete scan. He needs firepower now. He tells Pax to prioritize weapons, grenades, and gasoline. He also sets a hard restriction on the new inventory. He's the only one who can order these items. In this world, trust is a luxury he can't afford yet. 10 minutes later, the first batch of gear is ready. It's time to check the status outside. The wyverns are still there, picking over the remains of the captors. They're waiting. The alpha hasn't left the area. There's no way to sneak past a swarm that large and aggressive, so they'll have to take the fight to them. He hasn't been to reserve training in years, but some things you never forget. They set up boxes of fully loaded magazines. If a gun breaks, they'll just grab a new one.
Yongsu smirks, feeling the weight of the rifle in his hands. Those monsters are about to become target practice for the best-equipped survivors on Earth. He takes aim, his finger tightening on the trigger. Time to shake off the rust. The first shot rings out, followed by a blinding flash of muzzle fire. They unleash a wall of lead from the safety of the portal's threshold. The air is filled with the deafening roar of automatic fire and the smell of cordite. Wyverns are shredded midair, their scales no match for high-velocity rounds. It's a one-sided slaughter. The monsters can't reach them through the dimensional bottleneck. They keep firing, cycling through magazines with tactical precision. The barrels of their rifles glow red-hot from the relentless rapid fire. Finally, the screaming outside stops. The protagonist wipes sweat from his eyes. Yang-soo thinks they've cleared them all out, but something feels off. The protagonist's instincts are screaming at him. It was too easy. He looks at the carnage littering the ground outside the portal. The massive alpha isn't among the dead bodies. It was much bigger than the rest. It wouldn't have gone down so quietly.
And then he sees it. The beast was just waiting for them to stop firing, and now it's coming for the portal. The aftermath is silent, but the air is thick with the scent of blood and ozone. The smaller wyverns are down, but the real threat is still out there. Yang-soo scans the perimeter, his grip tight on his rifle. He can feel eyes on us from the showers of the warehouse. If it won't come to us, we'll force its hand. We need a target it can't resist to draw it into the open. Tactical deception. It's time to use the system to create a distraction that looks like an easy kill. A remote-controlled car. Simple, but in this world, any sign of movement is an invitation for a predator. We're setting up a dummy. We need to see how this monster attacks before we commit to a full engagement. The bait is live. We watch from the safety of the loading dock, waiting for the shadow to move. There, a massive shape descends from the rafters, crushing the dummy in a split second. It's faster than the others. Yang-soo, get ready. This isn't just a beast, it's an apex predator. The sheer aggression is startling. It didn't just attack, it tried to delete the target from existence. The giant wyvern, a monster that makes the swarm we just fought look like a minor inconvenience. Look at those eyes. It's analyzing us, calculating the risk of its next move. It screeches, a sound that vibrates through the very foundations of the building. It's a declaration of war. Weapons up. If it wants a fight, we'll give it everything in our inventory. Fire. We need to overwhelm its senses before it can close the gap. The muzzle flashes light up the dim warehouse, but the beast barely flinches as the lead flies.
Bullets are bouncing off its scales like rain. Our standard munitions aren't even leaving a scratch. The muzzle smoke is thick, but the monster is still advancing. This isn't a normal hide. A blinding flash from the impacts. We need to find a weak point, and fast. It lunges, its maw wide enough to swallow us both. The scale of this threat is beyond anything we've faced. The shockwave of its movement nearly knocks us off our feet. We're losing the initiative. It's like hitting a tank with a BB gun. The scales are too thick for conventional small arms. Yang-soo is looking for an opening, but the monster is relentless. It knows it has the advantage. I'm watching the bullet deflections. There's a pattern here. It's not just armor, it's a physical rejection. The leader of the thugs was right. Some monsters are just on a different level of existence. It stares me down, mocking our efforts with every deliberate step it takes toward us. Those eyes aren't just animalistic. There's an intelligence there, a cold understanding of its dominance. Another screech. It's calling for an end to this game. It's time for a desperate measure. Thud. Objects roll across the floor toward the beast. Not bullets this time. It pauses, curious about the small metallic spheres rolling to a stop beneath its chest. Grenades. Dozens of them. If we can't pierce the hide, we'll try to crush it with raw concussive force. I've got an unlimited supply, and I'm not holding back. Let's see how it likes a localized sun.
Boom! The explosion rocks the warehouse, a wall of fire and pressure consuming the beast. Yang-soo hurls another round into the inferno. We need to make absolutely sure it stays down. The monster is swallowed by the smoke and shrapnel. For a moment, there's hope. A direct hit. That blast should have been enough to level a reinforced bunker. The shockwave clears, revealing the scorched earth and twisted metal of the warehouse floor. But the monster is still standing. It's barely scratched, its scales shimmering through the smoke. The heat is intense, but the wyvern just shakes it off like dust. It's fundamentally untouchable by this gear. We're gasping for air.
the physical toll of the engagement finally catching up to us. Young-soo is exhausted. He's realized the terrifying truth. We're outclassed in every way. I'm looking at the beast, and it's looking back. It knows it won this round. It takes flight, disappearing into the dark sky. It didn't retreat. It just lost interest in its prey. Why did it leave? Maybe it realized we weren't worth the effort yet. We need to move before it changes its mind. On the road to Gangnam. The silence in the car is heavier than the battle was. Young-soo is shell-shocked. He's seen a lot, but nothing that could shrug off a grenade barrage like that. I'm replaying the fight in my head. Grenades were a failure. They're designed for fragmentation, not penetration. Against that hide, shrapnel is useless. We need something that focuses all its energy on a single, devastating point.
But a bigger bomb in the middle of a city is a disaster. Innocent people would be swept up in the blast. No, the solution has to be surgical. High power, small radius. Something with more mass and more velocity. I need to keep upgrading. The system is the only way to close the gap between us and the true monsters. I pull up the interface. It's time to see what our survival earned us in the warehouse. 314 mana stones. The wyvern swarm was a gold mine we didn't even know we were digging. This is the edge I need. I'm going to reinvest every single stone into the system to break its limits. Shipping speed is the first priority, boosting it to 150 kilometers per hour. Cooldown reduced to 1 second. I can now flood the zone with supplies in a near-continuous stream. Simultaneous shipping up to 4 items. My tactical throughput just doubled. Range increased to 50 meters. I can strike from a distance without being seen. It's becoming beastly. The more stones I feed it, the more the system evolves into something truly dangerous. 189 stones left. There's a new unlock available, the Parallel Dimension Lab. I'm curious. If this is where the items are stored, I need to see the logic behind the storage. I tell Young-soo I need to check something. He looks at me like I've lost my mind in the middle of the road. He wants to push through to Gangnam, but I can't fight what's coming with what I have now. I'll leave the portal open while he drives. If anything goes wrong, I can jump back into reality instantly.
I step through the threshold. The transition is seamless, leaving the ruined world behind for a moment. It's a sterile digital workshop. This is the heart of the system, where data becomes physical matter. I start digging into the new functions, combine and disassemble. This is the key to my new strategy. Combine lets me ignore physical incompatibilities. I can merge separate items into a single registration, like a rifle with a preloaded magazine. No more fumbling with reloads in the heat of a fight. Disassemble is the inverse. I can break complex objects down to their core materials for easier storage. I ask Pax about the risks. If I register a grenade without a pin, will it detonate in my inventory? It exists only as data here. No physical processing occurs until the moment of shipping. That opens up a world of dangerous possibilities. I can store items in a state of terminal failure. I register the live grenades. It costs stones, but the ability to ship a live blast is worth every one. It's progress, but it's still not enough. I need to think outside the box of conventional weaponry. If the shipment speed is high and the mass is high, I can create a weapon that doesn't need an explosion. Kinetic energy, pure unadulterated force, a projectile that hits with the weight of a truck. I need something heavy, something that can punch through that wyvern's barrier with mass alone. I see it in my head, a new kind of projectile. High mass, high velocity, zero explosive radius. If I can ship a heavy object at top speed, it'll hit with the force of a railgun, a surgical strike.
I can see the potential. A grin spreads across my face as the theory comes together. I step back into the reality of the car. Young-soo is staring at a massive pile of scrap blocking the bridge. A mountain of cars piled high. Someone built a barrier, and it's effectively sealed the road. It's a mess. We'd have to take a long, dangerous detour to get around this fortification. Young-soo is frustrated. We don't have the time or the fuel to find another route into the city. He asks me for a solution. I tell him there's no need to turn around. We're going straight through. I've just finished calibrating my new weapon. This is the perfect environment for a live test. He looks confused.
A new weapon? In the few minutes I was staring into space? He hasn't seen the lab. He doesn't understand that the system is more than just a delivery service. I trigger the shipment. The portal opens just inches in front of the car's path. Something massive streaks through the air, hitting the barrier with a bone-jarring crack. The cars are tossed aside like they're made of cardboard, the barrier disintegrating under the impact. The path is cleared in a single strike. No fire, no shrapnel, just the raw mathematical force of mass. Young Soo is staring through the windshield, his hands shaking on the steering wheel. He's looking for the missile. He's looking for the high-tech ordnance that just cleared a city block. But all that's left on the ground are simple gym weights, 20-kilogram plates of solid steel.
Simple physics, devastating results. This is the future of our tactical arsenal. Young-soo finally finds his voice. He wants to know what I did, but I'm already looking ahead. If this can clear a mountain of cars, imagine what it will do to that giant wyverns barrier. We're entering Gangnam now. The stakes are higher, but so is our firepower. The city is a tomb, but we're the ones carrying the light and the heavyweights. I check the system one last time. Everything is ready. The next monster won't be so lucky. Young-soo keeps driving, his confidence returning. He knows I have a plan for everything. But I know the truth. We're only surviving because we're adapting faster than they can kill us. The lab is still open in the back of my mind. I'm already thinking of the next combination. We're not just hiding in a warehouse anymore. We're building an empire of logistics and destruction, one shipment at a time. The world might have ended, but my business is just starting to boom.
The hospital's outer barrier, a makeshift wall of scrap metal, just got breached with zero effort. The guards are in shock. This perimeter has held against monsters for weeks, but it couldn't stop a single vehicle. They aren't looking at a beast. They're looking at something far more calculated. High-intensity beams cut through the ash and smoke of the apocalypse, blinding anyone standing in the way. A modified military jeep tears through the courtyard, ignoring the rules of the new world. It screeches to a halt right at the main entrance, asserting total dominance over the area. The survivors can only stare. Is this a rescue mission, or is it a hostile takeover? Inside the jeep, the driver watches the chaos with cold, tactical precision. Jung-yam has arrived. He's not here for the hospital's resources. He's here for his sister, Joo-yeon Kim. To understand why he'd risk everything to find her, you have to understand who Joo-yeon really is. She wasn't always a saintly nurse. Growing up, she was a firebrand who'd drop-kick her siblings for breathing too loud. She was a delinquent with no direction, more interested in starting fights than planning a future. Then, out of nowhere, something in her shifted. The girl who couldn't sit still for 5 minutes suddenly became obsessed with her books. The family thought she'd finally lost her mind, but Joo-yeon was dead serious about turning her life around. Her mother and siblings watched in confusion as the house rebel became a scholar overnight. She claimed she just had a new dream, but she wouldn't say what it was.
She wanted to be like the giving tree, a source of strength and healing for others. She decided that even if the world ended tomorrow, she wanted to be treating the sick today. It was a complete transformation of character that left everyone who knew her speechless. The resolve in her eyes was unmistakable. She wasn't just talking, she was preparing for a calling. Her siblings joked about taking her to a doctor, but they couldn't deny the change was real. She studied through the night, every night, driven by a newfound sense of duty. And against every expectation, the former delinquent fought her way into nursing school. Back in the present, seeing her brother alive and standing in front of her is a shock she wasn't prepared for. The tough exterior she built to survive the apocalypse crumbles the moment she sees his face. Jung-yam isn't the little kid she used to tease anymore. He's the one who fought through a city of monsters to find her. Even Young-soo, the hardened soldier who's seen it all, can't help but respect the bond between them. This is the payoff for every risk they took. In this hellscape, family is the only thing worth fighting for.
Introductions are brief. There's no room for small talk when survival is on the line. Juyeon is already back to work, looking for anything she can use to help the patients in this ward. But Jeongyam has a mission of his own. He needs to show her the advantage he's brought with him. He tells her they have a patient who needs immediate attention, but he's not in the hospital yet.
Juyeon is stunned to learn that her brother has awakened an ability, just like the hunters in the city. He mentions a parallel dimension, but he won't open it out here where the hospital staff can see. He knows this place is crawling with eyes. They need somewhere private before he reveals his hand. They move deep into the facility, Jeongyam scouting the layout and the guards as they go. The hospital is overcrowded and desperate, the perfect environment for a predator to seize control. Every corner reveals more people clinging to life, waiting for a miracle that hasn't come. They reach the staff lounge. It's quiet enough for Jeongyam to reveal his secret. Young-soo sticks to the shadows, playing the role of the silent protector while Jeongyam prepares. The door creaks shut, and the atmosphere shifts. The real power play is about to begin. Juyeon's jaw drops as the space around them bends and warps. She expected a storage locker, not a gateway to a massive hidden warehouse. But her attention is quickly drawn to the man lying on the floor. It's a soldier, bloodied and broken, far beyond what any normal first aid could fix. Juyeon moves instantly, her professional instincts taking over the moment she sees a life in danger. She can see the signs of torture. This man wasn't just hurt, he was systematically broken. Jeongyam watches her closely. He needs to know if his sister is as capable as he remembers.
She reaches out, and the air begins to shimmer around her palms. Juyeon didn't just become a nurse, she awakened as a healer, and a powerful one at that. The green light flows into the soldier's wounds, knitting skin and muscle back together in seconds. She's still low level, and it's a massive drain on her energy, but she won't let him die. She stabilized him, but she knows he needs more than just magic. He needs food and rest. Jeongyam teases her, trying to lighten the heavy mood. Some sibling dynamics never die. With the patient stable, they finally sit down to talk strategy. The hospital is a powder keg. The parallel dimension is their ultimate tactical advantage. It's a sanctuary no one can breach. Jeongyam has drones, weapons, and enough supplies to outlast any siege. But the hospital is controlled by a corrupt hierarchy that uses hunger as a weapon. As Juyeon eats a real meal for the first time in weeks, she tells him the ugly truth about the management. She's been surviving on scraps while the people at the top hoard the best for themselves. The power dynamic is simple. Those who control the food control the lives of everyone in the building. A woman enters the lounge, another survivor who's been helping Juyeon keep things together. She's been trying to create a safe space, but it's a losing battle without resources. Juyeon turns back to her brother, her eyes filled with concern for the 300 people trapped here.
Jeongyam wants to gather the family and move on, but he can see that Juyeon won't leave her post. She wants to stay behind. She knows if she leaves, the patients have no one left to protect them. She explains that the hospital is essentially a prison disguised as a refuge. The darkness here isn't coming from the monsters outside. It's coming from the director's office. Upstairs, the man in charge is watching. He's already seen the jeep and heard the rumors. The director, Sung Hak Jin, isn't worried about two newcomers. He's intrigued by them. He wonders if they're special forces or just lucky survivors with a good vehicle. Either way, he sees them as potential assets to be broken and brought into his fold. Sung Hak Jin, director of internal medicine, a man who understands that in an apocalypse, medicine is a god complex. He knows he controls the food, and that gives him absolute authority over life and death. He doesn't care how strong the newcomers are. He has his own way of dealing with powerful abilities. He has an enforcer, a massive, silent beast of a man who makes sure the director's orders are final. His plan is to play nice, lure them into a false sense of security, and then strike. He's already ordering the barrier to be rebuilt. He wants to make sure no one leaves without his say-so.
Back in the lounge, Jung Gyum is listening as Ju Yun reveals the director's secret weapon. He's been poisoning the food supply, using his ability to make the survivors physically dependent on him.
He controls the awakened hunters by withholding the cure unless they do his dirty work. Ju Yun has been secretly stealing monastones, trying to level up her healing enough to break the toxin's hold. She's risking everything to save these people from a tyrant who wears a lab coat. She tells Jeondyum to get the rest of the family and run. She doesn't think they can win this fight. She believes the director holds all the cards because he holds the food. But she's forgotten who her brother is. Jeongyum listens to her fears with a calm, dangerous confidence. He smirks. The director thinks he can control people through scarcity? He has no idea that the man standing in his hospital has a literal warehouse of resources at his fingertips. Ju Yun stares at him, confused by his lack of fear. With a flick of his wrist, Jeongyum summons a mountain of food. The director's leverage just evaporated.
The director is finally catching on. He knows Ju Yun's brother is moving more than just a few rations. He tries to play it cool, assuming they only have what a single military van can carry. He thinks the crowd will exhaust their supplies in no time, leaving them desperate. But his underling has bad news. The scale of the handout is far beyond their own stockpiles. The director pauses. His logic is failing. They should have run out of food hours ago. How can a single van hold enough to outsupply a hospital's entire logistics network? He realizes he's not dealing with a lucky scavenger, but a powerful ability user. The hospital search parties have to use trucks for their hauls, yet Jeongyum is doing more with less. He guesses it's a duplication skill or a way to manipulate the size of objects. Whatever it is, he wants that power. And if he can't have it, he'll eliminate it. He hands over a vial of poison. If the poison doesn't force a recruitment, then a simple execution is the backup plan. Under the cover of night, Jeongyum is moving with tactical precision. He's slipping rations to the patients, but his real objective is finding the director's enforcer. He knows he's being watched, but he hasn't spotted the target yet. Ju Yun said he'd recognize the man instantly. He's looking for someone who stands out from the starving crowd. He needs to find him before the director's next move complicates the mission.
Back in the lounge, he discusses the plan with Ju Yun. He intends to neutralize the director's greatest asset. Ju Yun is skeptical. She knows exactly how dangerous the poisoned ability users can be. She describes the strange, almost mundane powers some possess, like resealing cans or doing laundry telekinetically. Jeongyum isn't impressed. He's looking for a real threat, not a utility worker. Then she mentions the one exception, the one man who actually matters in a fight. His name is Hyung-gu Song. He's the reason the hospital is still standing. He traveled across a scorched city just to reach his mother. His motivation is as strong as his body. Jeongyum listens intently. This is the man he needs to either win over or put down. Hyung-gu isn't just strong, he's a force of nature. He built the car barricades outside with his bare hands. Suddenly, a massive figure looms in the hallway. The sheer size of the man confirms his identity. He's been sent to intercept Jeongyum. The mental conditioning is clearly visible in his vacant, controlled stare. Hyung-gu recognizes him as Ju Yun's brother, but his words are cold and rehearsed. Jeongyum remains calm. He's been waiting for this meeting. The juggernaut turns his gaze toward the exit. He's leading him to a more open area. The air grows heavy. Hyung-gu's presence radiates a crushing weight that would break a normal survivor. They reach a clearing among the wreckage. Hyung-gu offers two choices, both dictated by the director.
The first is simple. Drink the vial and submit to the director's control. The second is even simpler. Refuse and die right where he stands. Jeongyum isn't one for ultimatums. He knows he can't outrun a man who throws cars like toys. He looks at the massive enforcer and decides it's time to introduce a third option. Option 3 is simple. Hyung-gu is the one who gets trapped. The big man doesn't understand. He thinks physical strength is the only currency in this apocalypse. He lunges forward, a massive fist aimed directly at Jeongyum's head. The strike connects,
but it hits a shimmering energy barrier instead of flesh. Hyungyu is confused. He's never seen a defense that can withstand his full power. Then he notices the drone hovering above him. It's a tactical distraction. Before he can react, something impacts him from behind with the force of a wrecking ball. Jung-yum is using his system to drop specialized gear. A high-velocity bowling ball strikes with pinpoint accuracy. He apologizes for the speed, but he's not here to play fair. He's here to win. The impact dazes the giant. Jung-yum follows up immediately, keeping the pressure high. Hyungyu falls to one knee. His durability is incredible, but physics is starting to take its toll. He growls, his eyes glowing with a dark, controlled rage as he tries to force himself back up.
But Jung-yum isn't done. He opens a massive portal directly above the enforcer. Hyunggu looks up, seeing the shadow of a massive object descending from the void. Massive stacks of metal cylinders begin to pour out. Each one weighs several hundred pounds. He tries to move, but the sheer volume of the falling objects pins him down. He catches the first few, showcasing his terrifying strength, but the weight keeps coming. He's being buried under tons of steel. Even for a man who moves cars, this is too much mass to handle. Jung-yum watches as his opponent is slowly encased in a prison of his own choosing. The giant screams, a final defiant roar as the last of the weights drop onto the pile. The structure is perfectly balanced, creating a cage that even a powerhouse like Hyunggu can't break from the inside. Jung-yum used the time Hyunggu spent talking to calculate the exact amount of weight needed. He tells the giant to be patient. Once the director is dealt with, he'll be set free. The Tower of Steel stands as a monument to Jung-yum's tactical advantage. He walks away from the wreckage, confident that his trap will hold. He heads back toward the hospital entrance. The first part of the plan is complete. He lets out a sigh of relief. Dealing with that much physical power is exhausting, even with a system. Juyeon is waiting for him. She heard the booming sounds of the falling steel.
He confirms that he met the enforcer and handled the situation quietly. He points back toward the wreckage. Hyunggu is temporarily out of the picture. She stares at the massive silhouette of the metal tower. She can't believe he managed to restrain him. Her expression shifts to worry. There's another problem they need to address immediately. She asks what exactly happened out there, sensing that the danger isn't over yet. They are interrupted by footsteps. Someone is approaching from the darkness of the hospital wing. It's Young-soo. He was supposed to be finishing the food distribution, but something is wrong. He's staggering, his hand clutching his head in obvious pain. He looks feverish, his movements jerky and uncoordinated. The director's plan has already claimed a victim. He groans about a splitting headache. The symptoms are identical to the early stages of the director's mental control. Juyeon realizes with horror that the poison has been deployed. It's working faster than they expected. She rushes to his side, trying to steady him as he begins to lose consciousness. She checks his vitals, her medical training taking over despite the mounting panic. She finds a small, fresh puncture wound on his finger. It's a needle mark. Someone must have pricked him while pretending to thank him for the food. It was a cowardly, effective strike. Jung-yum knows they can't leave him like this. He needs a secure place to recover.
He grits his teeth. The director's desperation is making him sloppy, but no less dangerous. He needs to find the source of this poison and a way to reverse its effects. He opens a portal to his parallel dimension lounge. It's the only place where he knows they'll be safe. A system notification dings. It has blocked an unknown energy from entering the dimension. The dimension is an independent space. It doesn't just keep people out, it filters out external influences. Young-soo looks up, blinking in confusion. The crushing pressure in his head has vanished. The symptoms are gone. The moment he crossed the threshold, the mental link was severed. Jung-yum is stunned. He knew his dimension was a sanctuary, but he didn't know it could cleanse status effects. This is a massive tactical advantage.
He has a way to break the director's hold on everyone. He realizes he can use this to free Hyunggu as well. He heads back to the metal tower. He opens a small portal inside the stock of cylinders, allowing the giant to enter the dimension. The system confirms the registry of a new inhabitant. The link is being severed. Hyunggu falls through the portal, landing on the floor of the lounge. He looks around, his eyes clear for the first time in weeks. The fog has finally lifted. Jung Yum removes him from the registry immediately after, ensuring he's not trapped in the lounge forever. The system confirms the removal. The process is complete.
Hyunggu stumbles out of the portal, collapsing onto the hospital floor. He looks up at Jung Yum, his expression one of profound shock and realization. He asks how this is possible. He can remember everything he did under the director's control. Jung Yum brings the man's mother to him. The emotional weight of the reunion is enough to ground him. He apologizes to her, his voice trembling with regret for the things he was forced to do. He knows he has a debt to pay. He looks at the survivors who helped him regain his soul. He's embarrassed by his actions, but he's not going to let the director get away with it. He vows to finish this quickly. He's going to handle the director himself. The group watches as the giant walks away, his purpose clear and his strength now aimed at the right target. In the director's office, a notification flashes on the terminal. The link to his puppet has been lost. He stares at the screen in disbelief. This should be impossible. He turns around, sensing a presence in the room that shouldn't be there. Hyunggu is standing in the doorway, his massive frame filling the space with pure, unadulterated menace. The director tries to talk his way out of it, putting on his usual mask of polite concern. He begs for his life, realizing that his poison and his mind games have finally failed him. Hyunggu doesn't say a word. He delivers a single, crushing blow that ends the director's reign of terror, once and for all. While the immediate threat is handled, we still have a hospital full of poison survivors to deal with. The plan is simple but taxing. Bring everyone into the parallel dimension. It's late, and many of these people can't move on their own. We're going to have to do the heavy lifting ourselves. It's a massive logistical nightmare, but leaving them behind isn't an option. We prepare for a long night of making the rounds. But before we can even start, something changes. The survivors are stirring. The dazed looks are fading. People are coming back to their senses, wondering where they've been and what they've been doing this whole time. The sudden recovery catches us off guard. It's like a spell has been broken across the entire ward. The confusion is palpable, but it's a relief. The poison's hold is weakening. Then, a heavy step echoes through the hall. Someone is approaching. Hyunggu returns, looking like he's walked straight through a slaughterhouse. He's covered in blood, but the grin on his face tells the whole story. He's neutralized the source of the problem. He bows deeply, offering his sincere gratitude for saving him and his mother. The doctor won't be a problem anymore. Looking at the state of him, I don't even want to know the details of how he took care of things. The results speak for themselves. I offer a quick apology for the bowling ball incident earlier. I had to make sure he was on our side, one way or another. He takes it in stride. For a man of his size, a few bruises are nothing compared to the chaos he's seen. He's seen monsters and anomalies, but my ability to drop pillars from the sky actually impressed him. Then he asks the big question. Am I planning to stay at the hospital for a while?
He's clearly hoping for some permanent protection. Having a guy who can summon a warehouse is a hell of a survival strategy. I have to turn him down. I still have family out there I haven't found yet. I can't stand one place for long. He understands. He wishes me luck, but his expression shifts when I mention my next destination, Iljiro. Hyungu's face goes pale. He tells me getting there might be impossible right now. He describes a massive stone wall that literally sprouted out of the ground, cutting off the entire area. It's taller than any skyscraper and seemingly indestructible. But that's not even the worst part. The monsters there are different. They aren't just beasts, they're undead. Skeletons and walking corpses that refuse to stay dead. No matter how many times you kill them, they just get back up. A giant wall and immortal monsters. Iljiro has turned into a literal fortress of the damned. It sounds like a nightmare,
But I'm not actually that worried about my second sister. Knowing her, she's probably ragdolling those skeletons without even breaking a sweat. She was always the toughest of us. Still, the intel is valuable. The world is changing faster than we can keep up with. Suddenly, a notification pings. Julian is calling from the parallel dimension. The soldier we rescued earlier has finally woken up. It's time for a debrief. I head back inside. If he's military, he might have the tactical overview we're missing. He's still weak, but he's alert. He knows he owes us his life.
He introduces himself as Lieutenant Colonel Kyung-ho Han, a high-ranking officer in the Signal Battalion. He looks around, trying to process his surroundings. He can see the city outside, but nothing makes sense. He knows the area, but there shouldn't be a massive logistics hub here. He's looking for landmarks that aren't there. I explain the situation. We're in my parallel dimension, currently moving through Gangnam toward the Hanam Bridge. The look on his face is pure disbelief. A warehouse that exists outside of reality? It's a lot to take in. He tries to wrap his head around the logistics of it, moving through the city while being inside a separate space. Juyeon backs me up, confirming that everything he sees is the result of my ability. The colonel takes a moment, then asks to be let off immediately. I assure him we have no intention of harming him. We're the ones who saved him, after all. He knows that, and he's grateful. But his mission takes priority over his recovery. He needs to reach the Joint Chiefs of Staff HQ as soon as possible. Whatever he knows, it's urgent. I can see the weight of the world on his shoulders. If a lieutenant colonel is this desperate, the situation is worse than I thought. I make him a deal. I'll let him go, but only on one condition. He needs to eat, and he needs to tell us exactly what's going on out there. Information is the only currency that matters now. He hesitates, bound by military secrecy, but his hunger is clearly winning the battle. I decide to sweeten the pot. If toast isn't enough, I have better options.
I summon a full spread. Pizza, waffles, fried chicken, things that shouldn't exist in an apocalypse. The smell alone is enough to break his resolve. He hasn't seen real food in days. He starts eating, and the story begins to pour out. It all started simultaneously, all over the world. It wasn't just monsters. The very terrain, the animals, and even the insects turned into infernal things. They were merciless, attacking everything in sight. The world as we knew it ended in a matter of hours. The government tried to fight back. They gathered awakened fighters and formed specialized units. For a while, it worked. They were taking down monsters efficiently and regaining some stability. But then, the beast appeared. A dragon that conventional weapons couldn't touch. Guns, grenades, explosives, nothing worked. It was a force of nature that wiped out entire bases. They called for aid, but the response never came. The command centers had gone dark. It was bizarre. Even while other bases were fighting for their lives, the main headquarters remained silent. They were forced to make a desperate move. They had to reach the DCC, no matter the cost. The dragon chased them relentlessly, picking off his men one by one as they fled through the ruins. They recruited every able fighter they found along the way, just to have a chance at reaching the center. When they finally arrived, the place was deserted. But the reason was far more sinister than a monster attack. They found documents, detailed plans for a coup d'etat. The military wasn't just failing, it was being dismantled from the inside. The awakened people they had recruited turned on them. They killed the soldiers and took control of the facility. A coup during the apocalypse. It's the ultimate betrayal. Someone is using the chaos to seize absolute power. The colonel believes the commander of the DCC has joined the rebels. They're working stealthily, cutting off communication to the government. He needs to get the word out. If the rebels solidify their hold, there won't be a civilization left to save. I take it all in. Human greed really is the one thing that survives the end of the world. I agree to drop him off once we cross the bridge. Until then, he needs to rest and recover his strength. He thanks me, but I can see the suspicion in his eyes. He's wondering how we managed to survive out here.
If we saved him, it means we had to cross paths with that dragon. He can't fathom how we outran it. He's trying to gauge my power level. In this new world, everyone is a potential threat or a potential asset. I keep my cards close to my chest. He doesn't need to know everything about my warehouse just yet. The meal continues in a tense silence. We're allies for now, but the world is getting smaller and more dangerous. The transition is sudden. The calm of the warehouse is about to be shattered. The colonel flinches. He feels it before he sees it. Something is wrong. The air pressure in the dimension shifts. Outside, the sensors are screaming. We've got company. The colonel looks terrified. He knows that presence. It's the same feeling he had before his unit was wiped out.
He warns us, his voice trembling. There's a monster right in front of us. I don't hesitate. If it's in our way, it's a target. The team snaps into action. We've handled threats before, but this one feels different. The colonel can't believe our lack of fear. He thinks we're walking into a death trap, but he doesn't know what we're capable of. He's about to see a different kind of warfare. The beast looms large, a massive shadow against the ruined city skyline. It's an orc, but bigger and more mutated than anything we've seen so far. It roars, a sound that vibrates through the very walls of the warehouse dimension. But before it can even finish its challenge, a massive pillar of steel slams into it from above. Welcome to my world.